Yeah.
You guys ready for this discussion? You feel good?
Rank it up.
Yeah.
Too late now. I asked that question earlier.
Holler if you need representation.
All right. Scott Johnson, are you prepared?
I am, in the immortal words of Illidan Stormrage in an alternate universe, I am prepared.
You are well prepared.
Prepared, yeah.
Surprisingly, to defeat me. All right. Here we go.
The following program contains news and information of a technical nature. The program is made possible by the generous support of users like you. Thank you. For information on how to contribute, go to dailytechnewsshow.com. The comments and opinions expressed are those of the program participants who are solely responsible for the content and do not necessarily represent the views of Alpha Geek Radio or the Frog Pants Studios Network.
This is the Daily Tech News for Wednesday, September 16th, 2015. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Scott Johnson, DTNS contributor and founder of the Frog Pants Network. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing extremely well, Tom. I've brought a clock with me. I hope everything's fine.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Stop the show! What is that?
It's not what you think. It's an electronic device, Tom. It's fine.
We're going to talk a little bit about a poor Ahmed Mohammed a little later in the show. As you might have guessed, we have opinions, and probably not the opinions you might expect. I think the thing's a little overblown myself, but I also think that there is definite technical ramifications that it shows. Meanwhile, Scott, shall we start with the headlines?
Yes.
Apple told Reuters it will not release watchOS 2 Wednesday because a bug fix is taking longer than expected. Apple promised the update would be made available shortly. Don't know what that means. watchOS 2 update promises to improve customization and speed up app loading.
Well, what Apple taketh away with one hand, it giveth with another. iOS 9 is now available for download. Users can get the update through iTunes or over the air by requesting it in the Settings app. However, don't be surprised if you don't see it right away because download requests are being queued, as they often are on release day of patches by Apple, so downloads won't be necessarily immediate. I haven't seen mine pop yet, so in fact, I never do. It usually takes a couple of days for me, and I don't know why. I'm on some list. iOS 9 adds a number of improvements, including extended battery life and by an hour, which is pretty great. A new low power mode, multitasking features, ability to install content blockers for Safari, and a news app. This is the one that they demoed on stage not too long ago. And I have one thing to say about this, and that is the space needed for the thing to come in and then do the work to do the update, substantially smaller this time too. One of the finer details was about 1.5 gigs as opposed to 3-point-something gig last time. So seems like a nice, efficient upgrade to the OS, if not one full of many, brand new, glorious, magical features.
Oh, sorry, Scott. I was just busy working with my new iOS 9 device that I got today.
Because you're on the developer list. I'll bet that's how they do this.
Nope. Actually, what I did was I manually backed up iCloud because I wasn't getting it. It was telling me I didn't even have an update. It was like, oh, you're up to date. I'm like, no, I'm not. You're lying. So I did a manual iCloud update. I don't know if that triggered anything or if it just caused enough time to go by that it started to see the update. Then it started to give me an error. So I would get through to agreeing, and it would give me an error. So I rebooted the phone, tried again, worked fine.
Oh, well, let me just give you a quick update. Beep, beep, beep. This just in. I checked it again, and now it says the update is there. So,
oh, well, there you go.
Glory be.
You complain on DTNS, you get results.
Nice.
Abituela Condolce noted on the subreddit that AT&T has raised the throttling threshold of its unlimited data plan. The new limit is 22 gigabytes a month, up from the previous 5 gigabytes a month for LTE customers and 3 gigabytes for non-LTE customers. Users who reach the 22 gigabyte limit will face speed reductions during times and areas with network congestion for the rest of that billing cycle. AT&T no longer sells unlimited data plans, but has many customers grandfathered in, and they've been fighting the FTC and the FCC about putting limits on otherwise unlimited plans. AT&T tries to say it's unlimited usage at one price, but not unlimited speed and unlimited data at that speed.
Yeah.
There's a limit on the
It's not going to cut you off completely. obviously. But
Yeah.
22 gig is a nice bump. I'll just say this. I don't understand why there's 5 for non-LTE, or 3 rather, and 22. Oh, it's 22 for everybody across the board.
It's now 22 for everybody.
Okay.
Before, the idea was that if you were on the faster service, you would use data faster, so they gave you a little bit more of a limit because it was, it was less congested at higher data points. And what we have found in study after study is that these kinds of limits generally don't ease congestion. So it really makes sense that what they're saying is, if the cell tower is congested, basically we're going to deprioritize somebody. So it's either everybody across the board, or we deprioritize the unlimited customers as a way to nudge them towards changing their plan. And it's this balance between AT&T not wanting people to leave their network, but really wanting people to get off the unlimited plans.
Yeah, I ended up taking the plunge and getting off for similar reasons. So good job, AT&T. Your plan worked with me. Minecraft, the open world game, you guys might be familiar with, a little tiny mom and pop shop called Minecraft. It's about to become Microsoft's, point and click adventure, the Minecraft game.
Wait, so like on Rails?
Well, no.
Not the kind of Rails you build in Minecraft. Wait, explain this.
The Telltale Games, who are famous for these kinds of games, well, it turns out, and this has been known for a while, but they have a release date finally for what is being called Minecraft Story Mode, or The Order of the Stone is the actual title of the game. The first episode, that is, to PC, Mac, PS4, PS3, Xbox One, and Xbox 360. Later, you get iOS.
Wait, what's the release date? You didn't tell us that.
Give you that. Sorry, October 13th, everyone.
Okay.
So get ready. October 13th, your big day. The 15th, you get it on tablet platforms, or rather mobile platforms, so that's good. Those always come later, so it's not a big surprise. Then they say Wii U and PS Vita versions, quote, sometime in the future. So that's good news, and all their other games have kind of done this pattern, so I suspect this will be true as well. Starting October 27th, you can purchase a Season Pass disc. This is the weird bit. At retail outlets, which features the first episode plus download codes for the next 4 episodes. Now, usually what they do in the past is the downloads are available if you're getting the downloads, period, on whatever platform you're on. You just get them all as downloads as they're released. Or when all is said and done and all 5 episodes are out of the Game of Thrones one they did, or Walking Dead or whatever, you might go to a game store, a Best Buy, and find the compilation on disc. So it's a little unusual to start you off with a disc, and I'm not sure what that does other than give you some retail space to help push the game, but people are kind of excited about it. It's all voice worked by a bunch of really great voice actors, a couple of which I know, and the story seems like it might be pretty neat, so a new way to play Minecraft, maybe for those who don't like the other way of playing it.
It reminds me of when Legos came out with video games, and people said, how the hell are you going to make a video game out of Legos? And they did. Yeah. They totally pulled it off.
And those were incredibly successful Lego games.
TechCrunch reminds us that Uber has not been banned in the Indian state of Delhi, but it still has been required to apply for permission to run taxis in the state. It's kind of in a gray area right now. And the Press Trust of India said late Tuesday that that application has been denied, although Uber has not yet received official notification. Uber now needs to reapply under rules passed August 17th. Uber and a similar competitor, Ola Cabs, are now required to limit their operation to 2,500 vehicles, use a government-mandated fare structure, so I guess no surge pricing, and add physical panic buttons to their cars. Neither Ola or Uber have added those buttons yet.
Whoa, physical panic buttons.
Yeah, there was a rape case involving an Uber driver in Delhi, and that's what's really caused a lot of the controversy around Uber in particular, above and beyond the typical controversy that Uber brings wherever it operates.
I just didn't realize they were I mean, I knew about the case, but I didn't know that panic buttons were the solution. And what is that?
Yeah, there's now panic buttons on the Uber app in India, but the state of Delhi says you've got to put physical ones in the car.
Wow. All right, big red one. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Sharp has announced very interesting plans to sell an 85-inch 8K television for 16 million yen in Japan. This starts in October, and if you're doing the math, that's about $133,000 US. That's a lot of freaking money. Interest is expected from broadcasters and companies testing the format. The Sharp LV-85001 can only receive 8K video through 4 separate HDMI cables. That's crazy. Japan's NHK plans to show the 2020 Olympic Games in 8K and begin broadcast in super high vision resolution that same year. The BBC notes China has the fastest adoption of 4K TVs in the entire world. So, Tom, that 133K got just sitting there, finally, a chance to blow it on something you really want.
Yeah, you've just been sitting on a pile of yen. all these years?
Yeah, all
I had
these
no idea.
Don't know what to do with it all, but 85 inches also, I better buy a much bigger house.
Yeah.
Fit it in here. But
You have enough to buy the house and the TV at the same time?
we had this great discussion about it earlier, and you made a really good point about we are just at that early stage. It's like those first plasmas that came out, 50-inch plasmas that came out for like $12,000 to $15,000, and everybody thought, no way that'll ever be an affordable home.
Yeah, don't forget. I mean, when you look at this, this is not meant for you to buy for your house. This is meant for people like NHK to buy to have a reference TV, a reference display, because everything they've been using up till now has been custom. So now Sharp's like, well, we feel like there's enough people testing it. Let's make a model that we can sell. Makes it a little easier. So this is the step towards consumer versions of this still probably being very expensive, coming out maybe next year at the earliest. It's interesting to me that 4K TVs being adopted in China, they're thinking maybe 8K would have its biggest adoption there, but I feel like one of the reasons 4K is selling so well in China is fewer people have a recently purchased television that they are replacing. And so they're more willing to buy the latest and greatest than folks who just upgraded to a 1080p TV a couple of years ago.
I think you're absolutely right. So it's like talking about broadband in Korea or other parts of the world. People wonder why the adoption is so quick and so fast, and it's a simple answer. They don't have decades of copper to try to recoup costs on and other infrastructure.
Well, I don't know if I would agree with that analogy, though. If we had a guy from Korea talking about the infrastructure in Korea and why it happened, and it really wasn't that.
Really? It's interesting. See, I have this brother who's Korean. He hasn't been in Korea for a very long time. He's convinced that's the reason. But that's interesting. I would take the word of somebody who's more recently been there or dealt with it.
Yeah, this guy lives there and worked in the industry. And you'd have to go watch our special on it. You can dig it up on the DTNS YouTube channel. But it's a lot more complex than that. But I get what you're saying as to the, like, I think a better analogy might be mobile phones in Africa, right? People are willing to adopt mobile phones in Africa because they're inexpensive and they don't have a computer. There's no one sitting there going, what do I need a smartphone for? I've got a laptop. More people are just getting right straight into phones because that's the first technological purchase they can afford.
Well, we'll see. 8K, baby. Woo! Bring it.
Richard _UK wanted us to let you know that researchers at the University of Texas found that using an abnormally long password on an Android lock screen can cause the screen to crash and unlock the device. Hooray! Great if you've forgotten your password. Attackers would add a large number of characters to the emergency numbers screen, copy those to the clipboard, that inflates the buffer. Then you swipe open the camera, access options, it prompts you for your password, you paste the characters into the password prompt, and boom, you crash the lock screen and it unlocks. The vulnerability did not work on devices that were protected by either the shorter pins or the pattern codes. BBC says Google issued a patch for its Nexus devices on Wednesday.
That is some brute force action right there. Hey folks, after November 15th, you'll no longer be able to download or stream Microsoft Zune Media. Oh no. If you still have a Zune Music Pass, you can switch over to Groove Music, and that's another password, and they'll give you 10 songs, by the way, with that, 10 free songs. However, Microsoft would like to know that Zune devices will keep working so long as you don't mind living in a 2006 world and sync that thing manually to your computer.
Yeah. Goodbye, Zune. Should we pour a little out for Zune?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
we should squirt a little out for Zune.
When that came out, that was a great device for the time, and it really did give Apple a run for its money in terms of... It didn't in a business way. But conceptually, on paper, and from an effort standpoint, it seemed like a really strong stab. Maybe a little too late, but it seemed okay, except for the brown one. No one likes the brown one. But the other ones, they were all right. They had a nice screen at the time. Like, there were reasons to think that was an alternative for you. But
they were good devices. I'll give you that, for sure. So long, Zune.
Oh, no, I just read that one.
Welcome, Groove.
Today. Yeah, and take it easy, Zune. If you've got a brown one still, hold on to that for dear life. That's all I'm saying.
Never mind. Recode reports that Hyperloop Technologies has hired Rob Lloyd, a former Cisco Systems president, as CEO. Emily White, former Snapchat COO, will join the Hyperloop company's board of directors. Lloyd said high-speed transit, this is back to Rob Lloyd, the now CEO of Hyperloop, says high-speed transit is a very disruptive opportunity. In fact, it's bigger than networking. Lloyd also said that Hyperloop Tech's revenue model will involve a mixture of travel and cargo and rely on public-private partnerships. Hyperloop looks like it will actually happen. The sad thing from this Recode article is, and you wouldn't get Rob Lloyd to go on record saying it, but it's likely to happen outside of the U.S. because of regulatory hurdles here.
Oh, so also interesting to me is I'd never really considered. I'd always just thought, oh, commuters, and this will replace trains or the need for long distance travel or short plane rides or whatever. And I always just thought I would see a little dude in a tube. And what they've talked about here is, I think it's slightly more interesting to think about cargo, at least as your initial thing, to see how well that goes and building infrastructure to move goods and services around before you start shoving people in this tube. I don't even care how big they make that tube, Tom. I'm still terrified of the idea of being enclosed in a tube for any amount of time.
Yeah.
So,
well, you don't like riding on airplanes either, which is the same thing.
it's a tube. It's a big tube.
Nobody likes the tube.
I'll do it when I got to, but man, it's just, I don't want to be in a tube, period. So,
It does. It sounds like they're basically going to model this on air travel, which is right now people probably don't realize how much cargo travels along with them when they're on a regular airplane. There's also cargo planes that are mostly cargo, obviously, but cargo gets shipped in passenger airlines all the time. So I think what they're saying is, let's try that mix of having, fill up one tube with a bunch of bananas and send them off to the Midwest. Well, probably not the Midwest here, the Midwest of China, since it looks like someplace like Asia is where they're going to build these first. And get those fresh mussels from the seashore by Hyperloop, delivered this morning.
why does this tube smell so funny? Finally, Ars Technica reports
Tube.
virtual travel firm uVisit surveyed a representative sample of 1,000 online U.S. consumers about virtual reality. This is the upcoming VR revolution we're also excited about. 11% have tried a VR headset. 30% are interested in trying one. Now, this means 59% of the U.S. has not tried or has no interest has no interest in trying a VR headset. Still, you got to think 41% of U.S. Americans, 86 million people is what that percentage works out to be, is not a bad potential market. And I think you get it in the hands of that many people, potentially, then the stuff spreads. That's really, you can't demo it well unless you say, come in here and try this thing I bought and put it on your head and have the experience. That's been one of their big challenges with trying to demo this stuff in the first place. So if that's the initial market, I think VR's got a bigger chance than...
I don't know. I go back and forth on this. Sometimes we're right there with you, which is like, dude, 86 million people willing to try it. That's a good starting point. And that's true. That is a good starting point. But part of me is like, really, 59% when asked about virtual reality headsets said, no, don't want to try one.
Well,
Not interested.
like here's
Really not interested in trying it? Buying it, totally different, but not even trying it.
Well, let's look at this number just as a comparison. Sony back in July, it looks like, sold 25 million PS4s worldwide. Now, it was already considered a huge success at 10 million. 25 is great. They're expected to sell a bunch more. All of this stuff is good. However, if that's all that's needed to call that a success, and this is a major gaming platform, and I don't mean to just use it as the only comparison for VR. There's plenty of other products that probably have analogs here, but if that's a success, and we get 85 potential million people using VR, that is a quantified success based on that number alone. So now that's a little bit of a false comparison. You're talking about sales of something that can only do gaming versus people interested in something that can do gaming plus other things. Right.
It's a little bit apples and oranges there, but I get what you're saying, which is like, dude, if you can sell 20 million, probably if you'd asked how many people would willing to try a console, you'd get more than that. Plus, you're just talking about sales of the PlayStation, not sales of other consoles, so that's going to up the number a little bit too.
Sure.
And you're getting closer to that 86 million. And maybe if I think about this as a gaming device, which most people probably still do, then that 86 million is a pretty big number. You're right.
Well, and one of the VR sales points of sale will be Sony's Morpheus for an install base.
Yeah. You mean Project VR, PlayStation VR?
Yeah, that's the one.
I don't know what you called Project Morpheus. That sounds like a code word that was abandoned 48 hours ago.
Something like that. I keep forgetting, and now they've changed. It's like the Nintendo Revolution turned into...
I loved that code name. I really wish the Wii had been called the Revolution.
I completely agree, and they blew it.
Yeah. Hey, folks, as you heard, we shouted out a couple people, but more than just those two submitted stories that were used in today's show. So get to the subreddit. Get thee to a subreddit, dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. Do some voting, do some submitting, and help us form the show every day. That's a look at the headlines. All right. A lot of you have been hearing about Ahmed Muhammad, 14-year-old, brought a homemade digital clock to MacArthur High School in Irving, Texas. He'd been in robotics club in elementary school. He works on radios. He works on go-karts. He's a maker. He's a 14-year-old kid who's into electronics. Made a digital clock. Put it in a metal box that had a tiger hologram on the outside, he says. The picture doesn't clarify whether that's true or not, but he's like, it's something you get at Target. It's a little case you get at Target. It's got a tiger hologram on the outside, and he put a circuit board and an LED display in it. Showed it to his engineering teacher in the morning, and here's where I think things went wrong. His engineering teacher advised him not to show it to other teachers. And I have a theory. We'll get back to what I think that engineering teacher could have done in hindsight, and I'm not criticizing the teacher. I'm not a teacher. I can't say how easy it was, but I think there's something that engineering teacher could do in the future, or other engineering teachers could learn from. Anyway, so Ahmed Muhammad takes it to his English class, plugs it in, and it's beeping, and his English teacher's like, why is it beeping? Okay, this is where Muhammad went wrong. He should have kept the thing off. But English teacher pulled it out, said, this looks like a bomb, and confiscated it. Now later, Hoffman is pulled out of class. 5 police officers and the principal accuse him of making a movie bomb or a hoax bomb. And here's where it gets blown out of proportion. There is definitely a question of whether race, religion, ethnicity played a part in what happens here. But there is also a big misunderstanding about what he was accused of. He was never accused of making a bomb. Nobody thought it was a bomb, and a lot of people are using that to point out how ridiculous this is. But it is an offense to pretend to have a bomb. If you intentionally build something that looks like a bomb, knowing it's not a bomb, and bring it to school to try to scare people, that is an offense, right? So that's what they were charging him with. That's why they put him in cuffs. That's why the principal threatened to expel him if he didn't make a written statement. Muhammad insisted it was a clock the entire time. He never wavered. He's like, it's a clock, you guys. That's all it is. It's a clock. They're like, you meant to scare people with this. He was taken to a juvenile detention center. He was fingerprinted and released to his parents. Charges will not be filed. The Irving Police Department made that clear today. They said, look, we determined he did not intend to create alarm. He was not breaking the law. He was not trying to scare people. This was a misunderstanding, and they let him go.
So what they were accusing him of is not that different than, say, you and I in line at the TSA at an airport, and you going, oh, I sure hope they don't find the bomb in my shoes today. It's not that different from that, right? Like, I know he didn't do that, but what I'm saying, they've
sort of, yeah, sort of. It would be if you put a piece of electronics through with the intention of scaring people, and you held it up and said this is a bomb, and it wasn't a bomb. That's the kind of thing they were saying. Is like, you were trying to make people think this was a bomb. Well, very obviously he wasn't. If he was going around saying it's a clock, I didn't mean it to be anything but a clock. Sorry if it looked like a bomb to you. Now, Dallas police have released a picture of this, and it shows the case opened up, so you don't see the tiger hologram. It looks like a suitcase the way they took the picture, and it's got a lot of wires and electronics in it, Scott. And a lot of people, including Dr. Payne in our chat room, are like, hey, that looks scary. It looks like a movie bomb, right? Yeah, right?
It totally does. Of course it does.
No, it doesn't.
It does. On the
Look online for suitcase electronics. You put electronics in suitcases all the time. A fuel pump condition monitor, an oscillograph, an eavesdropping kit, a synthesizer, a freaking robotic boat would all look like that. A teacher should have enough consideration to know that, wait a minute, this kid works on electronics. There's an engineering teacher. Maybe I'll consult the engineering teacher first.
Well, I
because any electronics that you don't understand can look like a bomb.
Yeah, no, they clearly freaked out, and I will agree with you 100%. That could have diffused, terrible use of the word, but diffused the entire problem.
Well, maybe the right use of the word, yeah.
I used a suitcase in high school, or not high school, like post-college-ish, early marriage time, where I used a case for a temporary solution to hold a motherboard and the contents of what was previously a 486 PC in an old hard drive. And I used it as a way to like run wires out of it and use it as a PC. I had enough room in there for a fan and all this other stuff. So I totally get that. All I'm saying is two things happen here. I think the natural thing for people to see all this stuff and there and not know what to do with it, and because they're raised on movies and little else, they saw what they thought could be dangerous. The problem came in with the reaction they decided to take, and the reaction should have been what you said. But you can see how a panicky,
I can easily see how an English teacher not understanding it would see concern. What that English teacher should have done is go to the engineering teacher. Maybe the principal should have brought in the engineering teacher. Maybe they did. Maybe he was ineffective. Maybe they didn't listen to him. I don't know. But when I want to go back to that engineering teacher, what I wish would have happened, and again, I'm not blaming the engineering teacher, but I wish would have happened would have been that he said, hey, you know what? I know this staff. I know this faculty. That could be misinterpreted the way it looks. Because obviously he said that. He's like, don't show that to other teachers. Like, the thought occurred to him, this could be misinterpreted. Why don't you leave that with me? I'm going to take it to the principal, and I'm going to show it to him and say, hey, you know what? Ahmed made this, and, I don't want it to get misinterpreted. I'm signing off on it. It's fine. If anybody freaks out, have them come talk to me, and I'll explain it to them.
Yeah.
Like, if he had done that, and I've known teachers who've done stuff like that, again, totally would have avoided a lot of this trouble. And the reasons that it escalated to the police are where we start to get into the social implications. And who knows, maybe this kid is known as a bit of a obnoxious teenager. Most teenagers are. And maybe they were frustrated with them, and maybe there's more to it. Maybe it does involve his race, his ethnicity, his religion. But there's also something from the technology side that I think we can talk about, which is if there was more education about what actual electronics look like, there wouldn't be an instant need to freak out when you see a circuit board.
Yeah, I remember this is just coming back to me, but 9th grade, I'll say, or maybe it was 10th, maybe my first year in high school, we were in wood shop, and some kid had made, his name was, I don't remember his name, doesn't matter for the story, but he made basically a fake bomb, and he made it look like a Hollywood bomb, and it looked like sticks of dynamite. They were made out of wood with duct tape around the side of it to hold it, and some kind of round thing that looked like a timer or a clock or whatever, and he thought that was a real riot. Ha ha ha, I've made a bomb. And I remember the teacher laughing it off, and the rest of us sort of laughing it off. And I just can't help but wonder if that's just different time, different feelings about those sorts of things. We live in a time that sees this stuff as a bigger deal than it is. We have metal detectors at schools. We didn't have those in 1981, 82, whatever it was. So maybe, just maybe, this is just a much more sensitive thing. And aside from, like you said, aside from all the political implications, which I think there's a big conversation to be had about that for sure. But when it comes to this show, I would have really, what I wish for is what you said. I wish that teacher would have taken the time to say, all right, this is going to get misconstrued, even if in his mind it looked like what he was doing is going to the principal and doing it partially because there may be some accusations about race or ethnicity. But still have done that, decided that was better than having a problem later. That would have been great. But I don't know how else once the teacher did what they did, like, now what do you do? How do you get teachers more? And again, we're not teachers, like you said, and we don't know.
I don't think the English teacher who found it thought it was a bomb.
Right.
Maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to credit her with enough knowledge to know that she didn't see explosives, but probably thought, this looks scary. I think he's trying to scare people. And that's unfair. I do think that if there was more awareness of how technology worked, that just a bunch of circuit boards wouldn't be scary.
Right.
That people would understand when they see something, when they're looking at an understandable item like a digital clock. And that's why, I think if anything positive can be pulled out of it, it should be that we need to educate people and give kids more education to understand what's going on. If 5 or 6 other kids in the class got up and said, hey, Mrs. English teacher, that I understand electronics really well. I'm in the class too, and I understand that that's not a bomb. Maybe that would have changed something too. But it is, again, on a positive, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced today that within 10 years, all public schools in New York City will offer computer science to all students. Not as a requirement there, but at least offered, no matter what school you're in. Chicago wants to make computer science a graduation requirement by 2018, and San Francisco voted in June to make computer science mandatory through the 8th grade. These aren't panaceas. They're not going to cure all the ills that this situation shows up, but this is the kind of thing that from the technology side I think is important and should happen.
And also late, it feels like, in some of these cases, like making science mandatory feels more important in today's world than making not that you shouldn't learn an extra foreign language, but we have lots of mandatory classes, I guess I'm saying, and we now live in a world where these skills are very important, and the fact that this stuff isn't already mandatory is crazy to me in an otherwise school system full of mandatory stuff. The other thing I would say, just in the teacher's favor, in that she didn't think it was an actual quote-unquote bomb, was, Tom, I don't know about you, but if I was a teacher and I saw a kid with something I thought was literally a bomb, I don't know that I would confiscate it, hang on to it, and then take it out of my desk and talk to some other people and try to get the kid in trouble for whatever they were accusing for. But you're not going to walk around with an actual bomb. You're going to keep that in your desk. You're not going to confiscate it. You're going to freak out and make a big deal out of it. So I don't think she ever thought it was a real bomb. She probably just thought, he's up to stuff again. He's just trying to freak everybody out.
And sometimes teachers don't like kids. And sometimes teachers don't like kids for good reasons. And sometimes teachers don't like kids for disgusting and despicable reasons.
That's true.
It does happen, and I don't know what happened in this particular case. I do think that it is what the saddest part of this was the story in the Dallas Morning News that Ahmed said that he would never bring an invention to school again, which I hope that changes. In fact, if Irving MacArthur High School was going to do the right thing, they would have an invention fair, and they would make him the host of it and say, really, this was a mistake. We made a mistake. They don't seem big enough to want to admit that they made a mistake, and that's too bad. But lots of other people are stepping in. Mark Zuckerberg said he could come out to Facebook. I don't know if Zuck offered to pay the fare to send him there, but it was a nice invitation. President Obama asked him if he wanted to bring his clock to the White House, and so we'll see if he pays the fare for him to fly over there. But a lot of people saying lots of positive things, so there's another positive at the end.
The irony would be if he goes to the White House, gets a tour, gets to show off his clock. Let's hope the clock's actually pretty good. Like, let's hope it's not kind of a half-aid class project that he really didn't spend too much time on, because this could all look a little bit weird when he gets out there and says, well, I just sort of threw it together to get a grade or whatever. But I just know 14-year-old kids. I have one who just turned 15.
Now, Ian in the chat room is giving us a hard time for leaving the ethnicity and religion part out of this, and I'm doing that on purpose because we could have a whole show about that, and that's not a tech news show. And I think that should be discussed, and there are places for that to be discussed. But it isn't the entirety, which is why I think this is worth discussion, of what went on, because this has happened before. Kira Wilmot was expelled from Barstow High in Florida because she put aluminum foil, toilet bowl cleaner, and plastic water bottle together as an experiment to make a small firecracker explosion, and they said she was dangerous. December 2008, Lewis Casey in Saskatchewan, Canada, arrested for meth. Then when that didn't stick, from having bomb-making materials, because he created his own chemistry lab, exactly the same chemistry lab he had at high school. He created it in his garage. February of 1987, Scott Johnson expelled for 2 weeks for throwing an ice ball at the side of the school building.
I can confirm that one, by the way.
Not quite the same. Not quite the same.
My experiment was not to see how ice behaved against a brick wall on the outside of the school when I knew the rules were not to throw ice balls. But to your point, these are all very similar cases, and I get it. High school kids are to be not trusted until you can trust them, and I get that. I understand the knee-jerk reaction, and I totally get it. And there is absolutely a conversation to be had, not on a tech show, but somewhere, about the racial and ethnic implications here, of which my own opinion are many, and there is absolutely that conversation. But yeah,
consider this the stepstone,
sure.
Right? We're talking about, okay, why, if there wasn't any other consideration, why could this cause a problem? What is the misunderstanding about technology and the prejudices about technology and the fear climate around technology that we could combat irrespective of any other consideration? We've done that discussion for you. The next step is say, okay, knowing that that can happen, what are the other parts of this story? You can carry on that conversation as well. Lots of arenas for you to do that. But just the fact that someone created a perfectly legitimate electronics experiment and was taken in handcuffs to the police because no one believed that he didn't mean ill by it is a problem of misunderstanding on many levels, one of which is ignorance. And we need to fight ignorance about technology because technology is new. And everyone who listens to this show, everyone who takes an interest in listening to this show, has enough interest in technology not to make those kind of mistakes.
Sure. Imagine the early 70s, some neighbor walking by Steve Wozniak's garage and saying, I don't know what those two hooligans are doing in there, but I think they're making bombs. It's not all that different than this situation. People overreact, people do stupid stuff, and you can look into all.
If you have enough people with understanding around, you can help avoid this kind of situation. So that's the lesson that I would send out there is you guys know technology. Make sure you share that knowledge. Make sure you step in and help people understand what's actually true about technology.
Yeah, and for the record, the Apple Lisa was kind of a bomb. Get it? It's pretty good. It was kind of a bomb. Get it, Tom? The Lisa was kind of a bomb.
Yeah, I got it. It's not funny, Scott.
I know.
All right, our pick of the day comes from David McDonald, who's from St. Louis but living in Orlando, who writes, on Monday's show, you discussed some financial institutions leveraging the Bitcoin blockchain technology. Earlier in the same day, David finished an audiobook on exactly that topic. He says, allow me to recommend The Age of Cryptocurrency, How Bitcoin and Digital Money Are Challenging the Global Economic Order by Wall Street Journal writers Paul Vigna and Michael J. Casey. McDonald says Vigna and Casey do an excellent job of explaining both the technology and the economics of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, but they also spend a good deal of the book digging into how cryptocurrency blockchains can be used and indeed are being used in other contexts.
Nice.
It's a book for you, Scott.
Sorry. My screen you heard all that sound? That was my screen freaking out. Okay.
Dig on into this Bitcoin book. It'll help you.
All right, I found it. Where am I? Lane 48.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, just read the Bitcoin book that David McDonald
I'll read
suggested.
that. Yeah,
that's all we're saying.
Tom, I never know what the hell's going on with the Bitcoins, and you're the one to tell me. So if you tell me there's a book that'll help supplement your
David McDonald is telling you.
All right.
Send your picks to feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Dwayne from Germany, but back in the USA for 2 great weeks of training, says, you mentioned on multiple shows that you were thinking of taking the plunge on the Microsoft Band. I got the Band maybe 3 weeks after it came out now, and I can't live without it. I am in the USAF, so of course fitness is important, and a fitness band is perfect for me, and it does a great job being a fitness band. Onboard GPS can upload 3 workouts on the band from Microsoft Health. It also tracks cycling and now golf through popular third-party apps. I would wait for the Band 2, though, because the Band is not without its flaws. It's a bit bulky, he says, which I got used to, and I'm hoping for waterproofing in version 2.
Yeah, this is the one last we talked about this, of all the bands, or of all the smartwatch type devices, and this one's more about fitness than anything, but it's the one that maybe interested me the most, even beyond, an Apple Watch or a smartwatch with all the features that those are coming with. So it's good to hear that. Not only, mainly what I'm happy to hear about here is the kind of support it's getting, and that Microsoft has plans to make it even better. So yeah, I may be around for version 2.
David, the software engineer, wrote in to explain why battery tests always report charge time to 80%. We noticed that on an earlier episode. He writes, most consumer electronics batteries don't charge linearly. This is especially true in our lithium-ion batteries, which can't be quick charged after a certain point because of increased resistance, which slows down charging anyway, but also produces heat that can cause damage or even fire if the battery is charged too quickly. So at a certain point, usually between 80 and 90%, the charger switches to a slower charge mode, which drastically slows down charging up to 100%. And of course, because of that, your time to 80% is always going to be faster and easier to say things like it's twice as good as any device's time to 100% would be. And he actually in his email said, look, if one device can charge to 80% in an hour and another device in a half hour, their time to 100% is going to look closer. But it's not a fair comparison to say the full 100% time charging, because in your mind you're going to say, well, then 50% charge would take this long, and that's not true because it's not linear.
That's interesting. I've noticed that my phone charges slower at the top end, and I just always assumed the readout was just telling me funny stories. But it sounds like from this that it's actually literally charging slower at that point.
Yeah.
For reasons I had no idea.
And Nate F. thinks that Facebook could easily add a button. Now, we don't know what Facebook's going to call their dislike button or how it's going to work yet, so maybe Nate is just predicting the future. But Nate says call the button support. Without messing with their positive Orwellian world, he says, you could say, I had a good day, support. I had a bad day, support. I got a new dog, support. My dog died, support. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. Support. The Bears still suck. Support. Haha, sorry. But yeah, I think this is genius.
Yeah, I would. You know what? I'm kind of for this. The only downside of the word support is it has It has a messaging that feels like money is involved somehow. I don't know if you can get around that. It's kind of like subscribe with podcasts, kind of drives.
But it is different from like, right? To say, oh yeah, I support you. Yeah, I know what you mean, though.
Yeah, it's
the local public broadcaster.
And maybe it won't matter because like also has lots of connotations. So
yeah.
I mean, something that's a little bit more neutral to language that shows. I mean, if somebody, here's the problem: when somebody on Facebook says, "Oh, our dog of 10 years died last night," and I'm so sad to see her go. No one wants to like that.
No, right, exactly.
I mean, they do sometimes because they don't know what else to do.
But dislike obviously has the negative connotation
Exactly.
of saying, well, I dislike you.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kind of rude. Your dog just died, right? So you want something that's... and Zuckerberg said this when he announced the dislike button. We're going to have something that expresses empathy. So I don't think it's going to be called dislike.
Yeah, probably not. But I like it. Support. Good idea.
Yeah, I support it.
Also,
Thank you, Scott Johnson. I support you, literally.
Thanks, man. You do. Without you, I wouldn't be here on Wednesdays and having the great time that I do have on Wednesdays. So thanks for having me here, man.
What do you got going on to tell people about? Come on, don't be shy.
There's so many things. I'm just trying to finish this book mainly, but there's a lot of stuff happening. I'll say this. I'll pull a little Johnson here. If anyone out there has interest in Heroes of the Storm, the Blizzard MOBA/brawler game that is quite popular right now, and you like Frog Pants content, then something is coming soon. That's all I'll say. That's all right. So keep your eyes on frogpants.com. Follow me on Twitter at Scott Johnson. You'll get the whole skinny there, and all the shows I do and everything can be found through those two sources. So thanks. Thank
you to our patrons for their support. You guys make it possible for us to do this show. Patreon.com/AceDetect is the way to continue to give ongoing support. That's what we live off of. And then we can do extra cool things if we get enough people supporting us in other ways, like in the store, dailytechnewsshow.com/store. The one person who requested a Tom's Wife Works at YouTube shirt, well, it says My Wife Works at YouTube, actually, better buy it. That's all I'm saying. dailytechnewsshow.com/store.
I'm wearing a YouTube jacket right now. I hope that's all right.
Are you really?
I don't have to disclaim that, right?
Now I have to disclaim it. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. That's 512-593-2459. Listen to the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. We'll be back tomorrow with Rob Dunewood of the SMR podcast. Talk to you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
I was a little late on the Diamond Club. I got so into it. I was like, when is the Diamond Club thing going to play? And then I remembered, it doesn't play unless I make it play.
Why is the audio doubling?
I don't know.
Oh, it just suddenly started doubling.
I blame Roger.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh.
What did I do?
No, it was right. It must have been right when he unmuted it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Totally fine.
I made sure it wasn't part of the recording.
Dude,
Roger, could you stop feeding your baby and fix the podcast?
Chrome completely took a freak out right in the middle of your talking, and then you were waiting for me to answer a question, and I realized, maybe he wants me to read this next thing, so I apologize for that weird little glitch.
Oh, don't worry about it.
That was annoying.
It happens all the time.
Well,
I wasn't sure how much you've heard.
I heard most of it. And
the only thing I had said was like, hey, Bitcoin, check that out, Scott.
And I went,
you should read this.
Yeah, and then I lost my mind, so anyways.
No worries.
I think we should just use clock block.
I like clock block. It's a little insinuendo, but...
That's all right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Done.
I just missed the timing. I couldn't unmute fast enough to go, Scott Johnson, please report to the principal's office. Scott Johnson. But you started making terrible, terrible jokes at the end of that segment, and it was
an awful joke, but I for whatever reason it just felt like I had to get it out.
I know.
Scott.
I know.
Scott.
Do it.
Scott.
Yeah.
Don't make me do this, Scott.
Oh no.
Oh no.
No. What?
Oh no, that's
on his nose and everything.
Dad Merritt.
I don't like it. I don't like that one bit.
It's not a bomb, Scott.
At least it was a fine experiment. It was not a bomb.
It's not an actual explosive device, is all I'm saying.
Bad pun is a bad pun.
Bad pun.
Woo-hoo.
We
We titled the show too easy. Now we got nothing to talk about.
now we got nothing to talk about. I got plenty to talk about.
Do you?
Plenty.
Keep hearing I should be watching Narco. Has anyone seen that yet?
Yeah.
I watched episode 1. It was really good.
Oh.
Brushwood has already moved on. I probably watched 2 and 3 by now.
The actor that plays Pablo Escobar was in a really, depending on who you talk to, he was in 2 Brazilian films called The Elite Force and the sequel to that, and I don't remember what it's called.
Team America World Police.
Well, it's very interesting. It actually is based on a book by a former member of BOPA, which is basically a Portuguese acronym for this state-level military police that goes in the favelas to clear them out, and kind of the machinations and the political intrigue behind it. Really good. I mean, as an actor, he's like stand out. It's like I was really impressed.
Isn't that guy in Star Wars? Or is somebody was in this? I might be thinking of something else. I just keep hearing about people that are in Star Wars now that are in other things.
Maybe he plays a smuggler.
Could be.
Maybe he's in the Rogue Squadron.
Yeah. See? No, actually, I think you're right. That might be what I'm thinking of.
Wait, who's the actor?
Trying to find it. Hold on.
Mads Mikkelsen?
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, he's in Rogue Squadron.
Oh, okay, that's the one.
You know, just ask the girl who reads all the feeds every day.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for somebody else, though. Ah, crap.
Who is it?
Hold on. Find it.
There's going to be a frosted Han Solo and carbonite Pop-Tart. Is that true?
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Wait, I'm looking.
Please
No,
let that be true.
Is it fake?
It's not fake, but it's not from Pop-Tart.
Oh, is it a knockoff Pop-Tart?
No, it's like it's art. It's just art. It's not a real
The
Pop-Tart.
Knock-Tart. That sounds good.
Its base
You know what,
material is resin. It's just art.
You know what? Screw it. I'm going to take one of those Han Solo carbonite toys and make a mold of it, and then just pour that weird frosting cinnamon and the Hershey's magic shell.
Yeah.
And then I'll put that on top of a Pop-Tart.
That sounds like a good
And then I'm
idea.
coming over for breakfast.
Sugar high.
I'm thinking of Oscar Isaac. Sorry. I got it all
okay.
about where he's in.
You mean Poe Dameron?
Yeah, that guy.
I'm not sold on that name.
I've never sold on any Star Wars names.
I never liked Bib Fortuna for a long time, but I got used to it.
The worst one is Porkins. He literally was named. He was named a pejorative.
Yeah.
Porkin. Boom.
Well, and in an era where there was a movie called Porky's.
Yeah. And Porkins died because
What I always thought.
well, Porkins died because he couldn't pull up. He couldn't get the ship up. And I think they were implying something there as well about his weight.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you.
Too much gravity.
Hold on. Who's the other guy? Oh, Adam Driver. I always forget he's.
That's no moon. It's a Porkins.
Adam Driver's got a weird face.
You know, if they
Adam
wanna
Driver is
capitalize
Kylo
on
Ren.
that, whoever makes pork skin or pork rinds should totally have Porkins edition pork rinds.
Oh my God.
I like that Admiral Akbar exists, but I don't like his brace as the Mon Calamari. That always bothers me.
You know how they came up with that, right?
No.
The guy was like had the calamari appetizers for lunch or something. It's like, yeah, why don't we just call it Mon Calamari?
Really?
Yeah, it was like, yeah, it totally destroys the mystique. Like there's something else behind. It's like, really, that's it?
Yeah.
Don't you hate that when there's something just so banal?
But that one was so see-through from the beginning. It was like, really? You named the squid race calamari? Okay, fine.
At least they didn't call them the sea monkeys.
Yeah.
Or
That would have been great.
the sea simians.
That's for episode 8. You got to wait for that.
What else is going on? What else is going on, people?
There's a migrant crisis in Europe.
Yeah.
Still, I thought they would have worked that out over a couple of weeks.
Syria's having a long-running civil war.
Who are you, Debbie Downer?
Western Ukraine is still occupied by the separatists.
Wah.
Deutsche Telekom just laid off 1,200 people.
That's the spirit.
I think my sister is actually housing some refugees from all that in Sweden right now.
Oh,
right.
your sister's awesome.
Yeah, she's been talking about this for months before, that photo came out, and then suddenly the world knows about it, kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She's so irritated by that. I'm like, Wendy, this is how it is. Like, people, sometimes it takes some stark imagery to get people off their butts.
Come on, we had a whole summer about where we had to worry about Rachel Dolezal, so I'm
Yeah.
sorry we couldn't get to the rest of it.
What bothered me is the fact that they're still running the same kind of asylum program where you come to us and we'll give you asylum. So you're just encouraging a lot of people to take the most dangerous route to get there instead of pre-setting up like sort of like processing centers closer to the camps that they're at, instead of making them do a decathlon through the Mediterranean to get to you.
Yeah.
Pretty bad.
Well, Germany's going to take people in because they don't have enough workers.
Yeah,
If you don't-
but that's what they say. I don't think that my thing with the whole that is that's very glib. Like, oh, we need people. We're going to take people in. It's all going to work out. It's like, no. It requires a lot of time, energy, and money. I mean, like, if you think about when the U.S. took in all the Vietnamese refugees after the Vietnam War, they actually had a huge, thanks to Jimmy Carter, there was this huge plan in place in order to kind of acclimatize them, but to also process them and figure out, okay, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
You're a fisherman, we're going to resettle you in a location where you can fish. You're a farmer, we're going to resettle you in a location where you can grow stuff. You work in an urban center, we'll get you in a location. In other words, they paired up people into locations where they would have the most success of integrating and eventually finding work and building a new life, instead of saying, all right, we're going to house all these people in camps, and then, somehow magically after we teach you how to speak German, you're going to just totally find work.
Well, this is also a situation where the people fleeing Syria don't necessarily want to flee forever. This isn't one of those where, it feels different to me anyway, and a lot of the theories are that these things are more temporary than everybody would like to think, where everyone's acting like they're
If they ever solve Syria, but since there's no international will to actually solve the problem of Syria, I think this problem is going to continue for.
That's a good point. Yeah.
It's going to be an ongoing thing, not just with Syria, but other places around the world. It's like, how do you deal with?
That's true. Even if you solve Syria, there might be another problem.
There's huge swaths of Southeast Asia with displaced people.
Yeah.
People don't hear about it because it doesn't make the news. But you have camps littered out throughout Southeast Asia with displaced people, either from areas that were formerly war torn or ethnic strife. It's just, it's an ongoing thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out of the post. That is it. Thanks for watching.
When California separates from the